A student's overview of the ageless wisdom was carefully compiled from the following books by Alice A. Bailey. A Treatise on Cosmic Fire. Esoteric Psychology, Volumes 1 and 2. Esoteric Healing. Esoteric Astrology. The Rays and the Initiations. Students are encouraged to download the free PDF version of this overview by following the link in the video's description, or to order a printed copy at cost from thebookpatch.com, but are advised to read the original, unabridged books in order to gain deeper insight into the ageless wisdom. Students are also invited to join our online study group at facebook.com/groups/students of the ageless wisdom. Chapter 17, A Treatise on Cosmic Fire. The nature of pralaya. We can view pralaya as the work of abstraction and as the method which brings the form under the destroyer aspect of spirit, working ever under the law of attraction, of which the law of synthesis is but a branch. The basic law of the system is that which governs the relation of all atoms to the aggregate of atoms, and of the self to the not-self. By an act of will the planetary schemes persist, by an act of will the system is, by an act of the egoic will man appears. When the will of the Logos, of the heavenly man, and of the human divine ego is turned to other ends, the substance of their vehicles is affected, and disintegration sets in. The 5 types of pralaya which concern the human unit are as follows. 1. The period of pralaya between 2 incarnations. This is of a triple nature and affects the substance of the 3 vehicles, physical, astral and mental, reducing the form to its primitive substance and dissipating its atomic structure. The energy of the second aspect, the form builder, is withdrawn by the will of the ego, and the atoms composing the form become dissociated from each other. This condition is brought about in gradual stages. A. The withdrawal of the life force in the etheric vehicle from the threefold, dense, liquid and gaseous, dense physical body and the consequent falling into corruption and becoming scattered to the elements. Objective man fades out, and is no more seen by the physical eye, though still in his etheric body. When etheric vision is developed, the thought of death will assume very different proportions. When a man can be seen functioning in his etheric physical body by the majority of the race, the dropping of the dense body will be considered just a release. B. The next stage is the withdrawal of the life force from the etheric body or coil, and its devitalization. The etheric coil is but an extension of one aspect of the sutratma or thread, and this thread is spun by the ego from within the causal body much as a spider spins a thread. It can be shortened or extended at will, and when the period of pralaya has been decided upon, this thread of light, or of solar fire, note the word solar, is withdrawn, and gathered back to the atomic subplane where it will still vitalize the permanent atom and hold it connected within the causal body. The life impulses are then, as far as the physical plane is concerned, centralized within the atomic sphere. End of page 79. C. The third stage is the withdrawal of the life force from so that it disintegrates in a similar manner and the life is centralized within the astral permanent atom. It has gained an increase of vitality through physical plane existence, and added color through astral experience. D. The final stage for the human atom is its withdrawal from the mental vehicle. The life forces after this fourfold abstraction are centralized entirely within the egoic sphere. Contact with the three lower planes is still inherently possible by means of the permanent atoms, the force centers of the three personality aspects. In each incarnation the life forces have gained through the utilization of the vehicles. 1. An increased activity, which is stored in the physical permanent atom. 2. An added coloring, which is stored in the astral permanent atom. 3. A developed quality of strength, or purpose in action, which is stored in the mental unit. These are wrought into faculty in Devakorn, which refers to a state of consciousness, reflecting, in the life of the personality, that higher state which we call nirvanic consciousness, and which is brought about by egoic action. It is but a dim reflection in the separated units, and therefore tinged with selfishness and separative pleasure, of the group condition called nirvanic. In this high state of consciousness each separate identity, though self-realizing, shares in the group realization, and therein lies bliss for the unit. Separation is no longer felt, only unity and essential oneness is known. Sutratma, the silver thread which incarnates from the beginning of a period of manifestation until the end, stringing upon itself the pearls of human existence. It is the line of energy which connects the lower personal man with his Father in heaven via the ego, the mediating middle principle. Upon it are found those focal points of energy we call the permanent atoms. 2. The period between egoic cycles. Herein is hid the mystery of the 777 incarnations and concerns the relation of the unit to his group on the egoic plane, prior to the unfoldment of the fifth petal. It concerns man in the period between the savage stage and that of the disciple, when he is an average man but still in the two halls. The mystery of all root races lies here, and the egoic cycles coincide with the building of racial forms and civilizations. A man will reincarnate again and again in the various subraces of a root race until a certain cycle has been covered. Then he may undergo a pralaic condition until in a later, and sometimes much later, root race he will respond to its vibratory call, and the egoic impulse to incarnate will again be felt. 3. Next comes the period wherein the man has attained freedom. A man has at this stage succeeded, under law, in abstracting himself, the freed soul, from out of the matter of the three worlds. He has used and worked with Deva substance and has gained all the vibratory contact possible, and has secured all the intended realizations and revelations. He can no longer be held imprisoned by the Devas. He is free until, consciously and willingly, and in another round, he can return as a member of a hierarchy to continue his work of service for the little evolved humanity of that distant time. As this concerns the 7 paths of opportunity for a master, we will not deal with it here. This is the great human pralaya. 4. Planetary pralaya. Man, after these cyclic happenings, is now a conscious part of his group, and a vibrant point in a center in the body of a heavenly man, consciously alive and consciously aware of his place in the great whole. This involves a realization as to the center of which he is a point of energy, a knowledge of the type of force he is to transmit, and to manipulate from cosmic levels, and a conscious relation with the 6 other centers in the planetary life with which he is associated. This period of conscious activity in etheric substance, of which the planetary body is formed, persists according to the karma of the planetary lord, for the unit is now consciously associated with planetary karma, and is a participant in the working out of the will and purpose of the Lord of his ray. On the higher planes of the system, this stage persists for the length of the life of a scheme, to which a period of pralaya succeeds that has its beginning towards the end of the 7th round in any scheme, or of the 5th if the law of persistence of a scheme is working out through cycles of 5. End of page 80. I am here generalizing and speaking in broad terms. The karma of the units differ, and a man, according to the path he chooses after the 5th initiation, stays and works within his own scheme, but changes may occur through the following factors. Planetary karma. The will of the Lord of his ray. Orders emanating from the solar logos which are conveyed to him after liberation via the planetary logos and through the medium of the chahan of his ray. He is then abstracted under a mysterious planetary law which only works on cosmic etheric levels, and is transferred to his destination. If we interpret all the above in terms of energy and of radioactivity and thus avoid the dangers of materialistic interpretation, the meaning will become clearer. Path 1. The path of earth service. Path 2. The path of magnetic work. Path 3. The path of the planetary logo. Path 4. The path to Sirius. Path 5. The ray path. Path 6. The path of the solar logos. Path 7. The path of absolute sonship. 5. The great pralaya. This interval comes at the close of every 100 years of Brahma, and sweeps into dissolution forms of every kind, subtle and dense, throughout the entire system. It is a period analogous to that dealt with when we considered the abstraction of man from his etheric vehicle, and his ability then to function on the astral plane, dissociated from his dual physical form. Within the system, a process similar to that undergone when man withdraws the etheric body out of the dense physical vehicle, will be seen towards the close of the Mahamanvantara. It will cover the period wherein the lesser four rays merge and blend, seeking duality, and their polar opposites. Eventually the four become two, the two become one, and all are then synthesized into the third major ray. The time is not yet, but lies countless eons ahead. It is the first appearance of the destroyer aspect in connection with the planetary schemes, and marks the beginning of the time when the heavens will melt with fervent heat and the sun becomes 7 suns. The microcosmic correspondence can be seen in the following process. The physical permanent atom absorbs the entire life force of the physical body, and its inherent heat and light is thereby increased until at the 4th initiation the 7 spiralae are fully vitalized, and vibrant. The internal heat of the atom, plus the external heat of the egoic body wherein it has its place, produces then that which destroys the permanent atom. Temporarily, and just prior to destruction, it becomes a tiny 7-fold sun owing to the radiation and activity of the spiralae. So with the physical sun of the system, it will in a similar manner become 7 suns, when it has absorbed the life essence of the fully evolved planes, and of the planetary schemes thereon. The ensuing conflagration is the final work of the destroyer aspect. It marks the moment of the highest development of Deva substance in the system, the consummation of the work of Agni and his fire angels, and the initiation of Brahma. Atomic substance will then individualize, which is the goal for the atom, and after the Great Pralaya the next solar system will start with the threefold spirit manifesting through substance, which is essentially distinguished by active intelligent love. This is necessarily incomprehensible to our fourth-round minds. Types of human rebirth. In our study of the building of thought forms and the agencies for their construction, we have considered the deva substance out of which they are constructed, the energy which animates them and its source, their appearance in time and space, or their incarnation, their disappearance or pralaya, the constructing entities who in a threefold manner produce these forms, utilizing the process of meditation, which is ever the preliminary to construction, dynamic force, or the positive energy which seizes its polar opposite, negative substance, the impartation of color or quality, which molds that which has been prepared, a secondary vitalization, which sets in separate motion the thought form thus created. End of page 81. The causes which combine to produce incarnation are seen to be three. 1. Egoic impulse. 2. The activity of the solar and lunar angels. 3. Karma, or the place which antecedent action plays in producing manifestation. When the initiatory impulse has been given, the vibration thrills through the petals, and activity starts in those of them which respond to the note of that word. The solar angels direct the vibration, and the mantram for that particular type of ego is begun. Finally the vibration reaches the mental unit at the base of the lotus bud, and the lunar pitris are called into activity. They begin to work out their formulas for the particular type of vehicle which is required. The work of the solar and lunar pitris. The joint activity of the solar and the lunar pitris in the process pursued by the reincarnating ego is our next subject of consideration. The ego, driven by desire for physical experience, has made the initial move, and a vibration, emanating from the center of the lotus bud, has reached the lotus petals, and has consequently vibrated in deva substance, or in matter vitalized by the Agnishvatas. As they are galvanized into activity, according to the group affected, the vibration is increased, and a dual sound is emitted. This dual sound is the basis of the mantram upon which the ego's cycle of incarnation is founded. The vibration, pulsating through the outer circle of petals, for the two inner circles and the three central petals are not as yet responsive, arrives at the triangle formed by the three permanent atoms, and vivifies the three lower spiralae, causing a slight response in the fourth, and leaving the higher three yet dormant. In each round one of the spiralae has been created, and in this fourth round, through the creation of the fourth spirala, the fourth or human kingdom can come into being. The word creation must be occultly understood, and means the appearance in active manifestation of some form of energy. These lunar pitris embody the substance of man's lower bodies, just as the solar pitris sacrifice themselves to give him his egoic body, and his consciousness. They are substance in its dual aspect, and the lunar pitris in their higher grades are the positive energy of atomic substance, and in their lower are the negative aspect of the same substance. They might be considered, in connection with man, as triple in their ranks. 1. The highest group of all receives the energy from the higher levels, and ensouls the spiralae of the three permanent atoms. 2. The second group, being the positive energy that attracts, builds and forms the body of man on the three planes. 3. The lowest group are the negative aspect of energized substance and the matter of the three sheaths. We can now trace the progress of egoic energy as it passes down from the abstract levels to the permanent atoms. On each plane the work is threefold, and might be tabulated as follows. 1. The response within the permanent atom to the vibration set up by the solar Treatise. To word it otherwise, the response of the highest group of lunar Treatise to the chord of the ego. This definitely affects the spirale of the atom, according to the stage of evolution of the ego concerned. 2. The response of the substance to the atomic vibration upon the particular plane involved. This concerns the second group of Treatise, whose function it is to gather together the substance attuned to any particular key, and to aggregate it around the permanent atom. They work under the law of magnetic attraction, and are the attractive energy of the permanent atom. On a tiny scale each permanent atom has, to the substance of a man's sheaths, a position relative to that which the physical sun holds to the substance of the system. It is the nucleus of attractive force. 3. The response of the negative substance concerned and its molding into the desired form through the dual energy of the two higher groups of Treatise. Some thought of the unity of this threefold work has been given in the differentiation of the substance of any plane into atomic substance, molecular substance and elemental essence. This differentiation is not entirely accurate, and a true idea of the underlying concept might be conveyed if the word energy took the place of substance and essence. End of page 82. This third group of Treatise is really not correctly termed Treatise at all. The true lunar Treatise are those of the first and highest group, for they embody one aspect of the intelligent will of Brahma, or of God in substance. The third group are literally the lesser builders, and are blind incoherent forces, subject to the energy emanating from the two higher groups. As they all have the gift of occult hearing, they are characterized as the Treatise with the open ear. They work entirely under the influence of the egoic mantram. Occultly these three groups are divided into the following. 1. The Treatise who see, but touch nor handle not. 2. The Treatise who touch but see not. 3. The Treatise who hear but neither see nor touch. The work of form building. This work of form building proceeds under definite laws, which are the laws of substance itself. The effect is the same for human, planetary and solar vehicles. The different stages might be enumerated as follows. 1. The nebulous, the stage wherein the matter of the coming sheath begins to separate itself gradually from the aggregate of plain substance, and to assume a nebulous or milky aspect. This corresponds to the fire mist stage in the formation of a solar system and of a planet. The Treatise of the mist are then active as one of the many subsidiary groups of the three major groups. 2. The inchoate, condensation has set in but all is as yet inchoate, and the condition is chaotic, there is no definite form. The Treatise of the chaos hold sway, and are characterized by excessive energy, and violent activity, for the greater the condensation prior to coordination the more terrific are the effects of activity. This is true of gods, of men, and of atoms. 3. The fiery, the internal energy of the rapidly congregating atoms and their effect upon each other produces an increase of heat, and a consequent demonstration of the spheroidal form, so that the vehicle of all entities is seen to be fundamentally a sphere, rolling upon itself and attracting and repulsing other spheres. Treatise of the fiery spheres add their labors to those of the earlier two, and a very definite stage is reached. The lunar Treatise on every scheme, and throughout the system, are literally the active agents in the building of the dense physical body of the Logos. They energize the substance of the three planes in the three worlds, the mental, the astral and the dense physical planes of the system. This needs much pondering upon. 4. The watery, the ball or sphere of gaseous fiery essence becomes still more condensed and liquefied. It begins to solidify on its outer surface, and the ring pass knot of each sheath is more clearly defined. The heat of the sphere becomes increased and is centralized at the core or heart of the sphere, where it produces that pulsation at the center which characterizes the sun, the planet, and the various vehicles of all incarnating entities. It is an analogous stage to that of the awakening of life in the fetus during the prenatal stage, and this analogy can be seen working out in the form building which proceeds on every plane. This stage marks the coordination of the work of the two higher groups of lunar Treatise, and the Treatise of the dual heat are now intelligently cooperating. The heart and brain of the substance of the slowly evolving form are linked. The student will find it interesting to trace the analogy of this, the watery stage, to the place the astral plane holds in the planetary and systemic body, and the alliance between mind and heart which is hidden in the term karma manas. One of the profoundest occult mysteries will be revealed to the consciousness of man when he has solved the secret of the building of his astral vehicle, and the forming of the link which exists between that sheath and the astral light in its totality on the astral plane. 5. The etheric. The stage is not to be confined to the building of the physical body in its etheric division, for its counterpart is found on all the planes with which man is concerned in the three worlds. The condensation and the solidification of the material has proceeded till now. The three groups of Treatise form a unity in work. The rhythm set up has been established and the work synchronized. The lesser builders work systematically and the law of karma is demonstrating actively, for it should be remembered that it is the inherent karma, coloring, or vibratory response of the substance itself which is the selective reaction to the egoic note. End of page 83. Only that substance which has, through past utilization, been keyed to a certain note and vibration will respond to the mantram and to the subsequent vibrations issuing from the permanent atom. This stage is one of great importance, for it marks the vital circulation throughout the entire vehicle of a particular type of force. This can be clearly seen in relation to the etheric body which circulates the vital force or prana of the sun. A similar linking up with the force concerned is to be seen on the astral and the mental planes. The Treatise of the triple heat are now working synthetically, and the brain, the heart and the lower centers are coordinated. The lower and the higher are linked, and the channels are unimpeded so that the circulation of the triple energy is possible. This is true of the form building of all entities, macrocosmic and microcosmic. It is marked by the active cooperation of another group of Treatise, termed the Treatise of vitality in connection with the others. Group after group cooperate, for the three main bodies are distributed among many lesser. 6. The solid. This marks the final stage in actual form building, and signifies the moment wherein the work is done as regards the aggregating and shaping of substance. The greater part of the work of the Treatise stands now accomplished. The word solid refers not solely to the lowest objective manifestation, for a solid form may be ethereal, and only the stage of evolution of the entity involved will reveal its relative significance. All that has been here laid down as to the progressive stages of form construction on every plane is true of all forms in all systems and schemes, and is true of all thought form building. Man is constructing thought forms all the time, and is following unconsciously the same method as his ego pursues in building his bodies, as the logos follows in building his system, and as a planetary logos uses in constructing his scheme. End of chapter 17.